Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone Retro Review. Today it is Season 1 Episode 34, The After Hours, directed by Rod Serling and starring Anne Francis as Marcia White. To start off here, I would just like to say wow. I've seen this episode before, like all the episodes, but I remember it being good, but not this good. This episode was absolutely phenomenal. The best one that I've seen so far on my rewatch. And part of that is just because the idea is so bizarre and yet is pulled off so believably well. Rod Serling, I have no idea where you came up with this one. And the performance of Anne Francis is pretty great as well. So Anne Francis stars as Marcia White, and she's our main character, and she's walking through a department store. Normal enough, and it appears she is looking for a thimble for her mother's birthday. And she is told that to get this thimble, she needs to go to a special floor, the 9th floor. So she goes into an elevator, and there's a very strange man operating the elevator, and he takes her up to the 9th floor, and at first it appears there's nothing there at all. But then a woman appears, and the sales lady, she's also acting very strangely, Marcia thinks. And there's only one item on the whole 9th floor, which is a gold thimble, just like the one she's looking for. Almost like it was pre-set up for her there. I wonder what that could mean. So anyway, she purchases the thimble from the woman for $25, but she mentions that she thinks it's very, very odd that there's no other merchandise on the floor. And the woman calls her by her name, Marcia, which is also somewhat odd. And the lady asks Marcia if she's happy. Marcia says it's none of her business and leaves somewhat upset. She goes back down the elevator, and when she's going back down, the creepy, strange man is in the elevator again. She tells him that she notices that the thimble is scratched. And he tells her that she'll have to go to the 3rd floor to complain about it. So then we go to the next scene where another man who works at the store is talking to the manager about the complaint. So the manager says, "What's the problem? Just, take her to the department where she bought it and we'll exchange or refund it for her." And the manager explains that she insists she got it on the 9th floor. Well, the problem is the store doesn't have a 9th floor. And at this point, the manager comes out to talk to Marcia. And, Marcia explains her dilemma. And then she says, after a few minutes, "Oh, look, there's the lady, that I bought this from." And it turns out that that woman is a mannequin, or at least, the mannequin looks exactly like the woman. So we don't actually see it happen, but the manager and another female worker are talking, and it appears Marcia got very upset. I can't really blame her at this point. So we see in the next scene, Marcia is resting. And after a few seconds, she gets up and walks around, and we now find out no one is in the store except for her. So she walks around a little more, and this is pretty creepy and atmospheric, and she's locked in all by herself. So she's trying to get out, and she starts to notice mannequins all around her. And then she starts hearing voices calling her name, and they start talking to her. So she gets more freaked out, and this gets more and more intense. It builds up as the episode goes very, very effectively. And so she keeps hearing these voices, and they're telling her, do you remember who you are, and things like that. And she winds up back in the elevator again. And what happens is the sales lady, the mannequin, she sees her when the doors open, and the sales lady turns from a mannequin into a person right then and there, and it's done extremely, extremely well. It looked pretty real to me. And then, all of a sudden, all the mannequins around her come to life, and they are trying to help her remember who she is. Well, it turns out that Marcia then remembers that she is a mannequin, and I guess all the mannequins get a separate turn to leave for a month and live in the outside world. And what's happened is the sales lady is now late to start her trip because, Marcia forgot and overstayed her welcome. Wow, this episode's crazy, but So at that point, Marcia accepts that she's once again a mannequin, and you would think that's it, right? But oh no, there's one more great scene yet. We go back to the store, and the man who was running the store before, the customer service man, he looks back and sees a mannequin that looks exactly like Marcia, because it is Marcia. And the episode ends with Rod Serling's narration. Now, not only is this episode creepy, weird, and bizarre, this is a perfect example of how to execute something just about perfectly. In an episode like Elegy, which I didn't like at all because I said it looked fake and the people were moving, in this episode the mannequins look really good, and the transition from mannequin to person, person to mannequin looked pretty real. I don't know exactly how they did this at this time, in the late 50s, early 60s, but it's impressive. And Anne Francis is easily the best female character we've had on the show. Rod Serling, I'll say it again, I have no idea where he came up with this, but the idea that something so strange actually works and you actually believe it, I was really getting into this. Make this an all-time great episode that I really can't find any flaw with at all. And so for that reason, I am going to give this episode my first ever 5 out of 5 perfect rating. So it can happen. So 5 out of 5 for the After Hours, and this is the type of episode and the reason why I am rewatching Twilight Zone. Thanks for watching.